Welcome to this analysis of the Averaging Up collection. Today we're looking past the daily noise of the market to examine a fundamental shift in business architecture. Specifically, we are exploring S&P Global's graduation into the most exclusive category of financial models.
The article introduces a concept called the Double Swell. Within the Averaging Up framework, this is identified as the absolute rarest and most powerful structural architecture in investing. It describes a precise geometry where distinct forces of growth do not merely coexist alongside one another, they actively reinforce one another. The result is a perpetual wave of expansion that requires zero capital expenditure. It's effectively the holy grail of business models. So to understand exactly how S&P Global achieved this rarity, we must look at a highly specific catalyst. Consider what happened on June 8, 2026. S&P Global integrated its financial data, its credit ratings, index data, and capital IQ intelligence directly into Cohere's enterprise AI platform. How did the market react? The stock immediately fell 1.5%. The broader market mistakenly priced this event as mere macro noise. They saw it as a simple repricing of long-duration assets against rising treasury yields. But the analytical framework we are utilizing today recognized something entirely different. It saw a profound category change. To see exactly what the market missed, we need to break down the underlying formula of these highly specialized business models.
The Averaging Up collection defines these highly advantaged businesses as Freesurfers. Their foundational formula is straightforward: A multiplied by B. In this equation, A represents the toll. This is what the business collects today from its existing network or its existing asset base. B represents the wave. This is the structural growth that compounds the toll over time without requiring any capital expenditure. The cost of B is absolute zero. The growth simply arrives inherently. But here's the critical detail. The geometry of this wave can vary significantly between different companies.
To understand how these geometries differ, we start with the classic archetype. This is a simple A times B formula, and Visa serves as the prime example here. There's a single toll, the payment network itself, riding a singular, unstoppable wave of global digitization. Think about it. Visa doesn't spend its own capital to force the world to digitize. The world naturally digitizes itself. It's one toll, one wave, moving relentlessly in one direction.
Expanding this geometry introduces us to the resilient architecture. This was formerly S&P Global's home, and it's where its primary competitor, Moody's, resides today. Notice how the formula expands to A multiplied by the sum of B1 and B2. Now we have two independent waves adding growth to the toll in parallel. If one wave stalls out, the other continues to push the business forward. It is a deeply resilient model, but crucially, these waves never interact with each other. Which brings us to the absolute zenith of the framework, the double swell. Here, the mathematical formula shifts dramatically to A multiplied by B1, which actively drives B2, and vice versa. The two waves are feeding directly into each other. The toll sits perfectly at the center of a self-reinforcing loop. It is an architecture that is highly coveted across the market, and until June 2026, there was only one pure example of it. That singular, pure double swell was MSCI. Its architecture is driven by dual forces. Wave 1 is passivization. We are talking about the relentless global shift of capital toward passive index management. Wave 2 is the rapid rise of AI and agentic workflows that are now automating portfolio construction. Both of these are massive macro forces on their own, but the true power lies in their interaction.
This interaction brilliantly illustrates MSCI's closed loop. As AI automation takes hold in the financial sector, it inherently defaults to index-based allocation, simply because indices are neatly structured and machine-readable. Therefore, AI naturally accelerates passivization. In turn, as more capital flows into those passive vehicles, the market demand for complex, machine-driven index analytics increases, which feeds right back into the demand for more AI workflows. The loop is completely closed. B1 feeds B2, and B2 feeds B1.
Let's return to S&P Global. Before their June announcement, they possessed two distinct waves: the growth of global debt and AI agents consuming their vast amounts of data. But AI consumption did not directly create more global debt. The causal link just wasn't there. The waves ran strictly in parallel. The additive plus sign in their formula held firm, but they desperately lacked that self-reinforcing arrow.
The catalyst that finally changed S&P Global's category was a highly specific infrastructure investment made by its AI subsidiary, Kensho. They built a platform-agnostic retrieval infrastructure. Think of it as a foundational pipe that makes S&P's data instantly consumable by any AI agent on the market. That Cohere integration we mentioned earlier, that was the definitive proof that this pipe was operational. It was the installation of a brand new architectural coupling mechanism.
With that infrastructure firmly in place, the loop closes. AI agents consume the data, which drives direct licensing revenue. That revenue then actively funds further infrastructure investment, reducing friction and increasing data accessibility even more. Naturally, this draws in an even greater volume of AI agents. S&P Global successfully transformed its parallel waves into an infinite self-reinforcing loop, guaranteeing a permanent mechanism for future compounding. Now, while MSCI and S&P Global both currently possess double swell architectures, the article notes a fascinating distinction in their underlying geometries. MSCI couples tightly through the market substrate itself, that direct active to passive capital flow. S&P Global, conversely, couples broadly via its distribution. Its reinforcing loop runs through the actual delivery mechanism, scaling seamlessly across 4 distinct tools: ratings, indices, market intelligence, and commodity insights. To put it simply, MSCI's loop provides highly concentrated power per unit, while S&P Global's broad pipeline offers profound resilience against systemic shocks. The analysis then looks forward, identifying Moody's as the next potential candidate for this architectural graduation. Moody's possesses an incredibly deep data reservoir and holds the ultimate regulatory moat in its NRSRO designation. The raw material is absolutely present. However, Moody's is currently waiting on the pipe. It has not yet built the equivalent retrieval infrastructure required to close its own loop. When it inevitably does, its unique regulatory position could make it the most durable double swell of all. This brings us to the core mispricing opportunity. The broader market is mechanical. It prices duration daily, blindly marking down S&P Global alongside other long-duration assets whenever yields shift. The framework, however, prices architecture. It recognizes a permanent structural upgrade to the underlying business model. That gap between the market's daily noise and the permanent structural reality is exactly where the true opportunity lies. Recognizing this architectural graduation allows one to see the compounding mechanics of a business feeding its own growth indefinitely. It's an unending swell on the horizon. The key question for investors now is this: what other data monopolies are quietly building their distribution pipes while the market looks the other way? This content is educational and reflects a personal analytical framework. It does not constitute investment advice. Visit averagingup.com to explore the full collection.